life, wisdom.
Hi guys, it's Jen Hillman here, and as a yoga teacher, I get to see a lot of different expressions of downward facing dog. And I'll tell you, you guys can come up with some really interesting variations on downward facing dog. So I wanted to make this video for you to really get into the mechanics of how to do downward dog correctly and safely for long-term practice to really get the most out of your pose. So go ahead and roll out your mat and let's get started, and I'll talk you through the pose. So go ahead and favorite this video so you can come back to it and practice this a few times, because downward dog is definitely a challenging pose with a lot of different components involved. So you'll definitely want to practice in order to make sure that you're really getting all the aspects of the pose correctly. So a lot of times when I see people in downward dog, especially when they're new to the practice, I see something like this, or this, or sometimes I see this, and that's just not quite it either. So a real true downward facing dog has a nice straight angle from the flat part of your hands all the way up to your tailbone, and an equally straight line of energy from your tailbone down to your heels, pressing down into your mat. So I'm going to talk to you step by step about how to really get your alignment set up in this pose. So you can start on your knees, and we'll just start with your hands. So just bring your hands onto your mat about shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider, but you definitely don't want them to be too close together. So I think shoulder width works really nicely. Now it's important to spread your fingertips wide apart so you have maximum surface area on your mat. This is going to give you a lot of grip and strength in your hands so you can really feel connected to the ground. Then what I see a lot of times is that people put all the weight of their hands into their heels, then the knuckle mounds come up, and really what's happening here is just too much compression in your wrist. So that can cause a lot of problems like carpal tunnel and kind of twitching, numbness, all kinds of things that you don't want. You want your practice to help you get strong. So you press forward, flatten out your knuckle mounds along the floor so much that there's even a little bit of lift in the heel of your hands. So it's really lifted there and you really protect your wrists that way. Then we'll look at what happens in your arms. If you have hyperextended elbows, then that can become dangerous because it applies too much pressure on the joint. So it's really important that you unlock your joints. Now that doesn't mean that you just let your arms go limp and bend your elbows, but instead of locking it out, you bring a nice gentle bend so that the muscles in your arms are active and strong. Then oftentimes people will have the crease of their elbows pointing in towards one another. The strongest downward facing dog has the crease of your elbows pointing forward, so you roll your biceps towards the front plane of your body. This helps you to activate the strength of your latissimus and your teres along the backs of your shoulders there. So it really helps you feel your arms connected to your back by rolling the eyes of your elbows forward. Now here's where the temptation comes to lift your knuckle mounds up. So we've got to keep pressing down through your hands. So now that you have a nice strong placement in your hands and arms, you can tuck your toes underneath you and start pressing your hips up towards the ceiling. Think about lengthening through your spine and reaching your belly closer to your thighs. So even if your knees stay bent right here, it's most important that you find this length all the way through the palms of your hands up to your tailbone, reaching your tailbone really, really high up to the sky. So there's this nice long line of energy, and it really stretches into your shoulders. So if your shoulders are tight, you might have to come forward a little bit more if the range of motion isn't there yet. But this is the idea, that you're really lengthening your heart,
down towards your feet, and your belly comes closer to your thighs. Then once you have this nice length in your spine, you can then start to reach your heels down towards the floor, straightening through your knees. Now, if the backs of your legs are tight, they might not straighten all the way. What happens is that people straighten their legs and compromise the integrity of their upper body. So it's better to really get this connection in your upper back. Then you start to reach your heels down. And even if you have to keep your knees bent, you're still going to get that stretch along the back of your hamstrings, and you're going to get the shoulder opening, the back strengthening, the forearm strengthening that's going on in this pose. It's also important to look at the alignment of your feet. You don't want your feet to roll in, collapsing the arch of your foot down. At the same time, you don't want your knees to splay out to the side and roll your ankles out. So it's important that you really lengthen the heels of your feet down towards the floor, straight back behind you. So you still feel a lift in the arches of your feet, and you can look back and see that your ankles are right in alignment and that your feet are strong as they're planted on your mat. So right here, you can really reach your hips up high, melting your heart down, and take some deep breaths in your newfound downward facing dog. Now you may find that this feels a lot more challenging than you're used to, especially if you were doing one of those kind of incorrect variations. Once you really get all those muscular engagements happening, you're gonna feel your muscle tone in a way that you never have before. And then you're gonna feel sore the next day and say, wow, I didn't even know I had muscles there. But that's the joy, and that's the wonderful discovery of exploring this yoga practice and learning how to connect to your body in a new way that's deeper than you ever thought possible. So just one more time, we'll look at this downward dog. Plant your hands firmly, pressing through the knuckle mounds of your fingertips. Roll the crease of your elbows towards the front of your body and gently unlock your elbow joint so it's not locked out, but it's strong. Tuck your toes underneath you as you lift your hips up. Melt your heart down towards your belly and lengthen through your spine. Then gently start to reach your heels down towards the floor, stretching through the backs of your legs, and just look to make sure that your ankles are right in line, that your heels disappear perfectly behind your feet. Then just take some nice deep breaths here, continuously making little micro adjustments, helping your body to maintain this strong alignment.
All right, well, thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope that this is helpful for you to understand a little bit more of the details of how downward facing dog works. It really is kind of a complex pose, so don't get discouraged if you don't get everything right away. Again, you can favorite this video and come back to it as much as you need to revisit the alignment part of this practice, so you can really get in there, build the strength in your arms and in your hands, lengthen and stretch along the backs of your legs, and really find that lift and tone through your abdominals and length through the entire backside of your body. This is an extremely therapeutic pose and really powerful, and one of the cornerstones of any vinyasa flow class. So understanding this pose is going to be really valuable for your practice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day. You can learn more about me by visiting my website, jenhillman.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Psychetruth channel so you can check out lots of my other yoga videos. And leave a comment below. Let me know how your progress is going. It's really great to hear from you. Thanks again.